Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be giving you 4 tips on how to use Tombow markers in your planner. I use Tombows in my planner quite often. These are the dual tip brush markers with a brush tip on one side and a bullet tip on the other. Tip number 1, test. It's very important if you're going to use a marker in your planner that is very inky like a Tombow. You want to make sure that it doesn't bleed before you put it on your precious weekly layout. So go to the back, find a note page that you aren't using at the moment, or just a piece of any page in your planner that is the paper, and then just take your markers, lay them down so you can get an idea of if they bleed through or not. And you can see in this Inkwell Press planner, which is the one I'm using right now, there's no bleed, which is awesome. Here's my Erin Condren horizontal planner, so I'm going to once again just lay down some of the color. And you see there's some shadowing there. So that tells me that I could probably use these, but I'm going to have to, know that there's going to be shadowing and maybe not put too much down at any given time. So like I said, tip number 1, test them before you use them. Don't just freeball it unless you're willing to deal with the consequences. Tip number 2, stick with paler colors. As you saw in the Erin Condren, the light colors kind of bled through a little bit. The darker you go, the higher chance, even on paper like the Inkwell Press, the higher chance you have of the colors showing through. Because here's a pale blue that I'm using, and then here is a darker blue. And notice that there actually is, it's kind of hard to see in this light, but there is a little bit of shadowing from the darker blue, but there's no shadowing at all with the pale blue. For the same test in the Erin Condren, here's a pale blue. Here's a darker blue. And you can see that the darker blue shows through way more than the pale blue does. So tip number 2 most definitely is stick with pale colors if you're using them in your planner. Tip number 3, use your Tombows as an accent rather than the whole lettering in your planner. As you saw from before how they bled through, it really wouldn't make sense to do all of your lettering with them, because even with the lightest colors, there's still going to be some show through. So as you can see, I did most of my writing in this planner spread with a regular pen, and then I would go through and add shading to letters with my light colored Tombows. You can see, again here, light accents. It adds that color that you want, especially if you're going to coordinate it with the color choices that you've made. If you add that accent, you can just see that it adds a little bit of color to pull it all together without causing too much havoc on the next week of your planner. So yeah, use as an accent. Don't use it as, you can if you want to, but my recommendation would be not to use for everything in your planner. And my 4th tip for using Tombows in your planner is to use a light hand. If you do heavy coloring and like piling it on, even in the Inkwell Press, it'll start to bleed through a little bit if you pile it on. So do your best to just add like light strokes of color to fill it in that way, rather than laying it on thick like pancake makeup when you're trying to cover up a hickey. Keep it light. If you keep it light, you can manage to put a lot of it in without too much shadowing. So like you can see, I have a lot of it in my planner, like here doing accents, but it doesn't show through, and it's because I use a light touch. And that is really important with any inky product you're going to use in your planner. You want to make sure that you're not just dumping it on there like El Nino. You want to keep it nice and light and then build a little bit if you want to, but again, test, test, test. So that was 4 tips of ways to use Tombow markers in your planner. I hope that you learned something. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more lettering stuff from me. And if you want links to anything that I talked about in this video, you can look in the description box below. I will have links down there. They may be affiliate links, so if you do click on them and purchase from them, I might get some money out of it, just in the interest of full disclosure. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.